Hi, my name's Aaron Davis, and I want to share with you for just a moment about my experience with forgiveness. I want to start by saying right up front that forgiveness isn't a feeling, it's a choice. I went into law enforcement to help people. So my reputation was the guy that when I would pull up on the street, people often would take off running thinking that I was there to bust their chops, but in truth I was just there to say hey and talk with them, and when they would see that it was me, they would all come running back. On one particular day, I was working a case where some young men had broken out of a halfway house type of a facility where they were being rehabilitated. And they broke into multiple cars and some garages and stole several items. Because I knew the pastor who ran the program, he actually called me and asked me to come and take the boys into custody that had committed the crimes. And throughout the course of conversing with them, I found out, their stories, their backgrounds, what had taken place, and they were both in tears, very repentant. One was 17, one was 18 years old. So we went for a ride in my patrol car, which at the time was an unmarked car. I was a detective in criminal investigations. So the plan was we were going to drive out to the country where they'd stolen all of these things from, go to each house that they stole from, make a note of what they stole and where they stole it, and I was going to go back and give them their property that they probably didn't even know was stolen yet. As I got out of the vehicle to speak with one of the victims, they told me where they had stolen different things from. Apparently, I had missed a trailer hitch that was shoved up underneath of my seat. I didn't realize it was there. And as I was driving, the trailer hitch slid out from under my seat. When the trailer hitch came out, the young man in the back seat grabbed it as I got out of the car and put it under his seat. And then the two boys conspired to kill me. And it would have worked, except that when we drove up the street and the young man sitting in the vehicle next to me pointed out the window and said, "We did that house over there." And I quickly looked back and said, "That house," as the young man from the back seat swung with both of his hands and hit me square in the face, shattering my nose and knocking my teeth out. I blacked out for a moment, and when I came to, I was spitting teeth, bleeding all over the place, and the young man in the back seat realized that he hadn't knocked me out, hadn't killed me, and jumped in the front seat and proceeded to try to strangle me with his hands. We fought for a moment, and at one point he looked down and he saw my pistol on my side, let go of my throat, and reached for my pistol. When he let go of my throat, I bench pressed him with one hand into the windshield, pulled my pistol out with the other hand, and when he saw that I'd cleared leather, both of his hands went up, and he slowly moved back to the back seat. Now I was pretty busted up, and we were way out in the country, and I needed to be able to call for backup, but my walkie on my hip wouldn't reach the sheriff's department, so I had to use the vehicle's walkie, meaning that I had to leave my keys in the ignition and then stretch the walkie from inside the car out the window in order to call for backup. I called for backup and walked around the back side of the vehicle to the passenger side in order to get the two young men that were in the car out of the car. Be able to keep an eye on them in that moment. But as I crossed the back side of the vehicle, the young man in the back seat jumped in the front seat, and I knew he was going to try to steal the car. So I ran around the front of the vehicle as quickly as I could. I had SWAT gear in the trunk. I had an MP5 machine gun. And I knew that if those guys got a hold of my weapon and my gear, that any other cops that they would come in contact with would be outgunned. And so I jumped on the hood of the vehicle, intending to shoot the driver if he put the car in drive. They took off with me on the hood. I ended up riding on the hood of the vehicle for 200 to 300 yards. I was holding on right there to the hood in front of the windshield wipers as they were trying to shake me off. I'm holding the pistol and I'm trying to think, should I shoot him or jump? Not knowing what the right thing to do in that situation would be. You don't train for these kind of events in the police academy. As the vehicle was reaching higher and higher speeds, we hit probably around 45 miles an hour, and I decided that at that point, if I didn't jump and they hit the brakes, the vehicle would run over me and I would be killed. So I decided to jump off of the vehicle. When I did jump off of the vehicle, I ended up hitting my head on the concrete and busting both of my inner ears. See, here's the interesting thing, is I laid in the hospital bed after these young men tried to kill me, and I was in the emergency room. I had a choice to make that day, and I chose to forgive. Before I even knew what the repercussions of the actions would be, I chose to forgive. I was already telling my wife, I've forgiven these boys. We're going to have to figure out how to work this all through. And I was already trying to plan on how I was going to help them after this event took place. But I didn't know how long the repercussions were going to last in that moment. The moment I chose to forgive, it was easy. But when I was going through hours and days of physical rehabilitation. When sometimes 5-6 hours a day, I would have to be doing specific exercises to recalibrate my brain. When I would have panic attacks that felt overwhelming and I didn't even know how to handle what I was feeling in those moments and had to go see a psychiatrist, I had a choice to make again on whether or not to forgive. In Matthew 6:15, the Bible says that if we don't forgive men their trespasses, that God can't forgive us our trespasses. And I've had many people who have been hurt badly, people who have been abused, people who have been raped by family members that have come to me over the years and said, Pastor Aaron, I don't know how to let these kinds of things go. I don't know how to forgive. I still feel the anger. I still feel the bitterness. And from that place, they feel condemnation because they think that because they're unable to release the feelings of their circumstances, that somehow they haven't really forgiven. And I want to tell you guys today that that's not true. Forgiveness isn't a feeling, it's a choice. So what I'd encourage you guys to do today is to reflect on those things that maybe you have harbored unforgiveness regarding. Let go, give it to God, and ask Him today to help you navigate your pain with the power of His forgiveness operating through you.